cookies look amazing.
I wonder who baked them.
What? You live in the 21st century and you see cookies and you still assume there's a baker?
Hey, what's up? I'm Dallas Wade, and welcome back to another worship service. One of the most common arguments for the existence of a god or gods is the watchmaker argument. And the argument goes something like this. You're walking through a field and you come across a watch. You pick it up, you look at it, and you acknowledge that it was designed and put together by people, sentient beings. You know that it didn't magically appear, you know it didn't randomly pop into existence, you know it didn't put itself together, and you know that the parts didn't get swept up in a tornado and happen to fit together in such a perfect way among the winds and the chaos. The conclusion then of this argument is that if a watch couldn't put itself together and if a watch needs a creator, then isn't the same true, if not even more so, of the universe? The watchmaker argument was created or at least popularized by William Paley in the 18th century, but the argument itself has been independently created by many theists over the course of the last few centuries. Sometimes instead of using a watch for the analogy, they'll use an airplane or a car or a house, but the argument itself, the premise, the conclusion, and the fallacies are always effectively the same. Today we are going to be looking at a very recent variation of the watchmaker argument. I'm sure you already saw it in the thumbnail or the title of this video, but recently I came across a guy on TikTok, a Muslim by the name of Adele, who tries to use a chocolate chip cookie as evidence of God. So let's check it out. It's pretty good, but the argument's not.
These cookies look amazing.
I wonder who baked them.
What? You live in the 21st century and you see cookies and you still assume there's a baker? Why don't you just think that maybe the milk came out of the fridge, the flour, the chocolate chip, the sugar, the brown sugar, and the eggs just happened that there was an earthquake and all of them fell into this bowl, and after that there was a thunder that made them all mix, and after that there was a heat wave that heated up the cookies, and after that there was a strong wind that pushed the cookies onto this plate. Think.
But who put the ingredients in the kitchen though?
You're asking too many questions.
Wow, that argument was amazing! I wonder who made it! Sorry, my bad. I don't know why I was yelling at you so angrily!
These cookies look amazing!
I wonder who baked them.
So is this what atheists be like? Do atheists be saying that cookies can put themselves together? No, atheists do not be like that. But on a serious note, saying that the universe is a result of natural processes is nothing like saying that a chocolate chip cookie could mix itself up, bake itself, and put itself on a plate. The problem with this argument, the watchmaker argument, is that when people make it, they always point to things like cookies, things that we know as a matter of fact can only be created by sentient beings and never be the result of a natural process. An important thing to do while looking at this argument is understanding why we know that certain things were designed or created by sentient beings in the first place. So why is it that when we look at a watch, we know that it must have been designed and put together by a sentient being? We know this because there is no natural process that produces watches. I know that everyone already knows this, and it sounds really dumb to even say it, but it is relevant to this argument. Watches don't grow on trees. Watches are not the byproduct of some chemical reaction. Watches are made up of small pieces, all of which have to be designed and manufactured and finally assembled by sentient beings, or at least machines built by sentient beings. And the same is true for airplanes and houses and cookies. They don't grow on trees, and they aren't the byproduct of chemical reactions. They are all made of parts, pieces, ingredients, and have to be specifically and intentionally designed, manufactured, or at least modified by sentient beings, and then finally be assembled by sentient beings or machines built by sentient beings in a very particular way. If you see an object or a structure, even if you don't know what it is, even if you don't know what purpose or function it has, but it's been put together in a way that isn't the result of natural processes, then you know that it must have had a designer, a creator. We can safely assume that houses were built by sentient sentient beings because we know that there is no natural process that produces 2x4s or nails or staples or OSB, and we also know that there is no natural process that can calculate rafters or cut joists or nail studs together on a 16-inch layout. However, in contrast to this, we do not assume that mountains were built by sentient beings because we know that there are natural processes that produce mountains. When we see a car or an airplane, we reasonably assume that it was created by a sentient being, but we do not assume the same thing of caves or canyons. When we see a cookie or a cake, we rationally assume that it was created by a sentient being, but we do not do this with boulders or stalagmite. If you want to argue that the universe was created by a sentient being just because watches and cookies were created by sentient beings, then you're going to have to show me something in the universe that could not have been the result of natural processes. But from what we already know about the universe, you are probably not going to have much luck with that. Everything we've ever observed or studied about the universe shows us that our universe is a very natural one. Stars, as beautiful, distinguished, and numerous as they are not designed or manufactured by sentient beings. They are the result of a very natural process. The cosmos is home to many things, including us, but more than anything else, it is the home to many forms of gas, most notably hydrogen and helium gas. That gas, like all forms of mass, is affected by gravity, and as a result, that gas collects together, creating a ball of gas. And the more and more gas collects together, the more and more gas will be attracted to it, to the center point. Just like a snowball, the bigger it gets, the faster it will get bigger, until eventually there will be a massive spiraling disk of gas, all swirling and attracting more gas, and all being pulled towards the center point. And over time, the sphere of gas at the center will become denser and denser and denser, and hotter and hotter and hotter, and eventually it will collapse in on itself due to its own gravity. This process will ionize the gas at the center, creating plasma, and now you've got a star, a massive, spinning, dense ball of gas and plasma. This is also the same process that creates planets and moons. When a star is forming, some of the gas and dust that is orbiting around it will collect together, creating smaller objects, which will also act like snowballs. Some of them will be mostly gas, and some of them will be mostly rock, which is why you have gas planets and terrestrial planets. Stars don't have planets as a sheer coincidence or because some powerful sentient being thought that it would look cute. Stars have planets because planets are simply a natural byproduct of star formation. And moons are just planets that are small enough and close enough relatively to a larger planet to be caught orbiting it rather than the star that the planet itself is orbiting. In order to actually argue that the universe must have been designed or manufactured by a sentient being, you'd have to actually point to something in the universe that could not have been the result of natural processes. Something that is actually comparable to a watch or a chocolate chip cookie. But from everything that we've ever actually observed about the universe, nothing is the result of anything other than natural processes. I mean, just take stars and planets and moons for example. Why do you think that they all happen to be spheres? It's not because some god really likes spheres, it's because any object in space more than 600 kilometers in diameter will assume a hydrostatic equilibrium due to its own gravity. If there were planets shaped like cubes or pyramids, and if there were moons composed of plastic or steel beams and screws, and if the stars in the sky were stationary and spelled out fully comprehensible words, then at that point you could compare the universe to a watch or a chocolate chip cookie, and at that point you could conclude that the universe must have been designed or manufactured by sentient beings. But as long as the astronomical bodies in our universe are composed of naturally occurring materials and assembled through strictly natural processes and move based on explicitly natural factors, then we have no reason to assume that our universe is anything other than the result of natural processes. And because of that, your cookie analogy is inaccurate and your argument fails. So I guess if you want to prove that the Quran or the Bible are true, you're going to have to cook up some better arguments. Anyway, that's all that I've got for today. Thanks for watching, and as always, I will see you in the next worship service. Don't forget to like, comment, and share. Also subscribe and activate that little bell icon if you haven't already. Go follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook if you'd like to keep up with me behind the scenes. And if you'd like to help support what I do, you can pledge to my Patreon or leave me a tip on Cashapp. Links and information for all of that stuff is in the description down below. Thank you for all of your support, and I'll see you in the next worship service.